exclusive video shows what appears to be MMA legend Cain Velasquez chasing after the man he allegedly shot. You can see the black SUV chasing that truck. Inside the truck was a man accused of murdering a family member of Velasquez. Now, Velasquez is facing attempted murder charges, and he made his first court appearance today.
If I said guilty in the title or on the thumbnail, that is because as far as a sentence goes, that is exactly what he just pled to when he pled no contest. The reason that a person pleads no contest in many cases is because they can accept the criminal punishment from the court as if it was a guilty plea, while simultaneously being able to defend themselves in a civil trial if they come after him for money. Now, I was in the middle of doing a Jake Paul, Mike Tyson video. That'll come later. But I saw this story come up, and this is one of those things that you stop what you're doing and you report on it if you're in the MMA community and you are a parent, because Cain Velasquez has pled no contest, where he took a shot at the guy who allegedly assaulted his 4-year-old son over 100 times. Now, a quick insert for people who are fans of my channel but are not really heavy into the MMA community or are new MMA fans. Cain Velasquez is one of the greatest heavyweight champions of all time. He is an absolute stud. And this story is really, really awful. The idea that Cain was going to walk on this due to temporary insanity or anything like that, that's over. That's not going to happen. He's going to face He's going to face imprisonment for this. I'm going to show you a video of the deputy district attorney and what he said regarding this case. And why that's important is it's going to have to do with what he suggests that the judge sentences Cain to. Now, as we get into the details of this case and we talk about Cain for sure going to jail now, I wanted to remind you guys that this is not how it always ends, okay? 12 years ago, there was this case in Texas. This dad was not charged with any crime.
Flores separated the girl from her brother, forcibly carried her into some wooded area, some brush there on the farm. That's when this witness ran, got the father.
So that was a little bit of a curveball because this was a different story than I realized. I'd never heard this story before, and I just talked like a complete lunatic for probably around 10 straight minutes, where 8.5 of it is not postable publicly in a million years. So if you want to see that story, I'm going to put it in members only. His 5-year-old daughter, he'd be lucky to die fast, dude. And we're going to do it like this. I'll tell you what, if you have kids, or if when you have kids, you think that you would want to whack out a person who victimized your child, then why don't you subscribe to the channel and like the video. Now, if you're still unsubscribed after this, I guess that means that you think that people should be able to touch people's kids with impunity. All right, so now let's discuss Cain Velasquez. I was following this case very closely. So if you don't know the details of the story, I'm going to catch you up. So Cain's son had been going to a daycare, a very well-known daycare in the San Jose area that was very highly rated. It was run by a woman and her husband, and then her son, who was the stepson of the husband, had moved back into the house where the daycare was run. And Cain Velasquez's son accused the guy of taking him in the bathroom over 100 times and, putting hands on him, right? Putting hands on him. Now, the details of exactly what the guy did are not super clear, but the guy was arrested for this crime, and Cain Velasquez obviously knows the guy was arrested. Now, where we get into a criminal situation for Cain is that the guy, when he was arraigned, was given bail and let out of jail. And the prosecutor that they had been interacting with, Cain and his family, did not alert Cain that he was out of jail. They didn't give him any details, nothing like that, right? He just finds out on his own that they let the guy out of jail. Now, put yourself in Cain's position right then, okay? You have a guy who right under your nose, you were dropping your son off at this house, okay? You're entrusting your baby to these people, a 4-year-old. You're entrusting these people with your child, and you drop them off there. You drop them off there. And then you find out that while he's there, someone is assaulting him in the worst possible way. Okay? So when he finds out that that had happened, he goes, this is actually speculation. I'm actually going to tell you my speculation in a second. Here's what we know for sure, is that Cain found Galarte and his stepfather driving in the car, and he chased them down and he fired a bunch of rounds at them in public, which the rounds that hit a person hit the stepfather who was driving. I believe they hit him in the wrist and the hand, and the guy had like permanent damage to his wrist and hand. So what Cain did not know at the time is that the reason they were in the car is the stepfather was taking Golarte down to the office where he was going to have his ankle monitor put on. That's why he was out. But what my very strong hypothesis is on exactly what happened here is Cain found out that the guy had been let out of jail, and I think Cain had probably parked in front of the guy's house, which is the daycare, and is there sitting there thinking about what he's going to do. You know, he's looking at the house, and he's like probably thinking he's going to go beat him up. You know, that's probably what's in his mind. And then he sees the guy and the stepfather walk out, get into the car, and he just can't believe it. Like, this guy's just out living his life. And so when they drive by, boom, he starts following him. Can't beat a guy up from a different car. He's got a firearm on him, and he starts taking shots at him. That is, I would bet a lot that that's exactly what happened right there. And the issue is that the area that he took the shots in was, I mean, listen, it's mostly farmland. I've seen the area. It's not a heavily populated area. It's basically farmland. But you see in the clip that I showed you earlier that, I mean, when he's chasing him on the freeway, that is a very crowded area. There's a lot of cars on the freeway. I mean, that's like a straight up high speed chase. So did he put a lot of people in danger? Yes, he did. He absolutely did. And you have to consider that when you think about this case, because when this first happened, I felt very strongly that they should just let him go. It's like, dude, this guy is defending his child from a predator. And when you see the story that I intended to put in this video earlier, that I ended up putting in members only, this is a different situation than that, because in that case, the guy walked up on a guy with his pants down in the act of his 5-year-old. His 5-year-old. Okay? Like, his 5-year-old. That's why I completely lost it. I didn't realize that's what that story was, and I talked for 9 minutes essentially about what I would do to this guy in that situation, and it was like, it's one of those things where I'm like just talking and I can hear myself, and I'm like, you can't say this. Like, what are you doing? But I just couldn't help myself. You know what I mean? So, as it were, Cain's situation was, it looks premeditated. He did not catch him in the act. He went to the guy's house and then followed him in the car and then took shots at him. Very different situation, right? Very different situation. This guy didn't die though, and the other guy did. You know, like the guy that he caught on his daughter did die, but a grand jury chose to not prosecute him, which is the right answer. Obviously, in that case, the fact that they even grand juried him is a joke. A joke. An absolute joke. You catch a dude like that and you don't have the right, you're telling me, and I'm sorry that I'm going to try not to like spaz out again, but I just want to, you're telling me that as a father of a 5-year-old girl, and you catch a dude doing that, you're telling me that there's someone else, whether it's the city government or it's your neighbors, have the right to tell you what to do in that situation? Okay, there are certain things that supersede law. You do whatever you want in that situation. You give that guy exactly what you feel like giving him, and there's no one who can tell you anything about it. No one. Anyway, but again, the Cain situation is very different. Now let's get into the into the actual details of the case, because again, he was facing a life sentence. Okay. So I'm actually going to just play this video for you, and this will give us a lot of information to discuss.
Former UFC heavyweight champion Cain Velasquez pleaded no contest in a San Jose courtroom today for attempted murder. The charges stem back to a high-speed chase in 2022 when the former fighter shot at a suspected pedophile. Crown 4's Rob Nesbitt spoke with the deputy district attorney who has been the main prosecutor on the case.
The case against Cain Velasquez has been in the spotlight for the last 2 years because of his celebrity status, but also because of the way he took the law into his own hands. Cain Velasquez faces multiple charges, including attempted murder, after seeking revenge on suspected pedophile Harry Goulart, who allegedly molested one of Velasquez's children at a daycare. The former UFC fighter engaged in a high-speed chase across San Jose, firing shots at Goulart and Goulart's mother and father-in-law. The intended target was uninjured, but his father-in-law survived being hit by several bullets.
He took the law into his own hands, and we have excellent law enforcement in this county, and he should have gone and used them. Instead, he put the lives of so many people in danger.
Yeah, except the thing is that he did do that, and then you guys let the guy out of jail and did not explain to him what was happening in his defense.
Velasquez changed his plea from not guilty to no contest Friday. Cron 4 legal analyst Michael Cardoza explained the difference between that and a guilty plea.
Meaning, I'm not going to contest this. You've got enough evidence to convict me. I'm not going to admit I did this, so I will plead no contest.
Cardoza says this is often done when a defendant is worried about civil lawsuits for the same crime. The former UFC fighter has gained several supporters, including a group that called for him to be free of his charges.
His status as a celebrity is not something that I consider when I'm crafting a resolution to this case and when I'm going to the judge and I'm asking him to hold this defendant accountable for his actions.
The 2022 incident took place along Highway 101, as well as an 11-mile stretch of busy San Jose streets. Prosecutors emphasize that bullets were sprayed near an elementary school crowded with children.
We need a sentence that not only gives justice to the victims that were in that car, but also a sentence that demonstrates that the defendant's use of gun violence in our county is unacceptable.
Velasquez remains out of custody on bail. His next court appearance is scheduled for October 18th.
Now, I actually heard about this story right when it happened. And when I say right when it happened, I'm talking before it hit the media, because someone in law enforcement in the San Jose area actually hit me up through email and told me that Cain had just been arrested for attempted murder. And actually, I think they said that he might have been, they thought he had actually murdered someone. And I couldn't verify any of it, so I didn't run it but I was ready. The second that it hit the airways, I was like, oh my God, this is real. And so I was on the story very, very quickly. And I felt very strongly about it, being that I also have children. But I remember also that there was a lot of kind of disconnect between people's opinions on what should happen, because people who have kids, a lot of them were immediately like, you're going to arrest him for that. You're going to put him in prison for that, when he went after a guy who yada yada. And there was a lot of people who in some cases their argument was that you can't just go do that, and honestly they're probably right about that. But most of them didn't have kids. The people who had kids who were pushing back on that narrative were the ones who were like, he didn't shoot the guy who did it, he shot his dad. And I don't really have a great argument, a counter argument to that either. And what I do want to say about this, because I did make such a strong argument, you just let him out, or like a not strong argument, but I was passionately arguing you just let him out, is that it doesn't matter what I think at the end of the day. Like what I think is totally irrelevant. What matters is reality, because when it comes to your kids, you cannot make emotional decisions. You can't do it. You can, but the advisable thing is to not do that, because outcomes are the only thing that matters. And the outcome of this is going to be his children growing up without their father for a very long period of time, most likely. They already lost a year while he was inside before he got bail. And more than likely, based on what the deputy district attorney just said, he's going to go inside. He pled no contest to avoid a life sentence. Okay? A life sentence. So now, you don't know. They could easily slap him with a 15-year prison sentence here. That could absolutely happen, which to me would be absolutely devastating. The kid was 4. His son was 4 when it happened. He's 6 now. So a child from age 6 to age 19 is going to grow up without his father. You have any idea what the impact on a child is if that's what happens? And if I was going to argue for him not doing serious jail time, if I was his attorney, That is exactly what my argument would be. You know, his daughter, who's older, she's going to be well into her 20s by the time that he gets out. A little girl, like a little girl, grows up without a father. You think that's something that you feel comfortable with if you're hoping that he gets a bunch of time? It, like, to me, but I understand you live in a world of laws, and something happens like this, it's really public. They feel like they have to set an example so people don't think they can go out and shoot at people. I get it. Like, I understand. But at the end of the day, if I'm his attorney, what I'm saying is the following. I say, look, we understand that, you know, you have to mete out a punishment here, but think about his children. Think about what it means for a little girl to grow up without a father. Think about what it means for a son to grow up without a father. He's a good father. He's a good man. You're going to have a hard time convincing them that he's not a violent man, given what his profession was and the fact that he took these shots. I'm just purely talking from the perspective of a stranger who is deciding what to do with him. And like, when I talk about his sentence, I don't think I've even made this point yet, actually. The way that we see Cain, if we're in the combat sports community, everybody knows that he's a genuinely good dude. And I've never heard anyone say a single negative thing about Cain ever. Never. I've never heard about him spazzing out in the gym. I've never heard about him doing anything that was out of control aside from this. But look at him through the eyes of a stranger. Okay? They look at UFC fighters like Neanderthals. They can't even understand how a person would ever choose that life. You know, they just can't understand. I remember in February of 2020, like right before the pandemic started, was when Wei Li and Joanna and Jacek had their fight, and I was in Tahoe with my family. My brother was a professional athlete. You know, he's as close to understanding the inspirational nature of combat sports as you're going to get from someone who is not into martial arts themselves or into combat sports themselves in any kind of serious way. And I remember watching that fight, and at the end I said, they were going into the 5th round, and Joanna had that huge thing on her noggin. And I remember saying to them out loud, I was like, I would be so proud if that was my daughter and she was going out and banging like that. I like the lion in that girl, dude. And they looked at me like I was an alien. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like they looked at me like I had just said that I wanted to try to skydive without a parachute. They just could not understand what I said. You guys all understand, of course. But regular folks don't get it. They're not like us. Okay? We are a niche community. That's just a fact. You know what I mean? And it's honestly like what I've realized about my audience is the heavier that people are into like martial arts, the more likely they are to follow my channel. Like I go to UFC events and, I meet a lot of people who are fans of the channel. But like this weekend, I go to like CJI and ADCC, which is, I don't talk about jiu-jitsu on here very often. Certainly not like high level competitive jiu-jitsu. And way more people, like a much larger, like percentage of the population of that group know who I am than at UFC. And I just think it's because like recognizes like. And so, we see the world very differently than regular folks. And it's not a big community at all. And so the vast majority of people look at Cain and they don't understand him. They don't understand us. They really believe that that a person who's a UFC fighter is like some kind of danger to society, just out of the gate. I would argue that 99 out of 100 times we are the exact opposite of that. Literally 99 out of 100 times we are the people that keep you safe if you let us off the leash completely. You know what I mean? Like we're the ones that you do not have to worry about. You have to worry about these people who are damaged psychos that certainly don't have the discipline to actually go and focus their energy in a positive direction related to combat readiness. But to them, they look at Cain, he's a danger out of the gate, and he did this thing. Does that district attorney look to you like he's like us? Does he seem like a person who relates to us at all? Or does he look like a guy who thinks that Cain belongs behind bars? Do you know what I mean? Like belongs there. That's why I'm so worried about this for him. I hope I'm wrong, dude. I really do, obviously. But I don't know. I mean, if I'm being honest, I knew he was going to go to prison for this. Of course. He's in California. He hit a person he was not trying to hit. He took shots out in public, high-speed chase. How could they possibly let him go? What world is it? I mean, not world, but like, I don't even think they'd have let him go in Texas, dude. I really don't. He took a shot at a car full of people, not just the guy, and he hit the wrong person, you know? So it's really depressing situation, but not unexpected. And I will keep everybody apprised as more details come in. You know, it's funny. One thing I am going to mention, though, is this. I remember when I was talking about, I can't remember which crypto scam I was talking about. Oh, I know. I was talking about Hamzat's crypto scam, right? And I said, I'm like, the idea of promoting something to my fans where they just were scammed out of money is a like, I would never do that. It's a paralyzing thought, you know? And someone was like, bro, are you serious? You promoted Marshall Inu, the crypto coin, and that was a scam. First of all, it wasn't a scam, but also, just so we're clear, one of the prereqs that I made when I chose to go and sign on with those guys, and I met the dudes too. They're good guys. These guys, like that coin, like a coin going up and then coming back down does not make it a scam, you know? And one of the things I was like, you know what would be awesome is you guys are donating to all these fighters. You should publicly make a big donation to Cain's family, because Cain had just gone in, you know, it was a couple of years ago, and they did. And they donated it. I think it was $25,000 to Cain's wife. And that was one of the reasons that I did it, you know, because I don't know, man, like I just relate to the situation very much. And I feel terrible for him, his family. I mean, like the guy did what he did because he loves his family so much and feels so passionately about protecting his family. And now he's going to have to go inside and watch his kids grow up from the other side of the glass. It's a nightmare, dude. And his alternative was potentially never get to see them again outside of captivity. Anyway, that's what I got. I love you guys. Bye. Okay, so as promised, this is the raffle that my friends are running. So it's the Trophy Axis Hunt, Buckhorn Ranch, and listen, this is where we spent our New Year's weekend. It is unreal. It's like running around on an African safari. They import all these incredible animals, dude. Like they have like wildebeest, dude. They have like, and you know, you get to hunt for these different trophy animals, and they have different prices. But they're running an raffle. Each spot is $125, and if you buy 3, you get a 4th one free. There's not a ton of total raffle members. But the winner is going to get to come for the weekend. You get meals, you get the hunts, you stay at the ranch. It's unreal. It is unreal. The value is like $7,500 or $10,000 or something like that. Honestly, if you have money, I would suggest just going and doing this. But you Venmo, the information is here on the flyer. You Venmo to Buckhorn Ranch, and you include your email and your phone number. And then they're going to do the raffle live on their Instagram, which is Buckhorn_Ranch TX at 6 o'clock on August 30th. And that's 6 o'clock Central. So if you're interested, rock and roll.